I'm Mrs. Vijay Bharati. I belong to Department of Medical Surgery Nursing, working as an assistant professor in Sri Balaji College of Nursing. Today, we are going to discuss about refractive errors of the eye. This particular topic will come under Medical Surgical Nursing 2 under Ophthalmological Nursing. Today, we will discuss about refractive errors of the eye in detail. We'll see what is the visual acuity. First, if we know the normal acuity only, then only we'll be able to know about the abnormality of the eye. So, for visual acuity means it is the degree to which details and contours of the objects are perceived. It is expressed in terms of visual angle. So, it is a degree to which details and the contours of each and every object what we are seeing is supposed to be perceived as such without making any abnormality. It is expressed in terms of any visual angle. So, this is called as visual acuity. This is the normal cone diameter. Actually, the cone diameter is 1.5 micrometer. Two bright spots should be 2 micrometer apart from discrimination. Here, from this picture, the N means the nodal point. Here is the center portion. Then AB is the object. Here is the object. It's supposed to be perceived by the eye. So AB is the image. Here is the object. How it was imaged, that is called as here the AB. So here is the object. It's supposed to be observed by the eye, and finally with the help of the eye only we can be able to visualize. So from the object, how the image was observed, this is the portion where we have observed the image. Actually, here, this A and P is the visual angle, A and P. So if anything goes wrong in this angle here from the object, it's supposed to be perceived by the eye. It will reach here from the cornea and eyeball will recognize the image. From there, it's supposed to be recognized by the brain. So with the help of the optical nerve. So the image, this is the image. Here is the center portion or the nodal point. From there, the object is supposed to be observed. This is the normal phenomena of eye. Actually, if anything goes wrong in it, so it will land up into refractive error. So we are going to discuss about each and every type of refractive errors in detail. So how we are going to check the visual acuity by using Snellen chart or Jacobs chart. These are the two charts which can help us to check out whether any victim or patient is having normal visual acuity. This is the Snellen chart. Actually, we are supposed to read the Snellen chart at the distance of 6 meters. So make the patient to stand at a distance of 6 meters. Each eye is supposed to be checked separately. So close one eye. Ask the patient to read all these letters by covering one eye. Then repeat the same with the other eye. So if they read from the top line to the bottom line means that they are having the normal visual acuity. Wherever if they're having any problem, we have to stop in that point. Then accordingly, we have to confirm what type of issues they are having. So actually, we're supposed to make the patient to stand at a distance of 6 meters. Then we can read the ask the patient to read on the chart. So this chart is called a Snellen's chart. Another important chart we can use to check the visual acuity is Jacobs chart. Actually, we supposed to ask the patient to read this particular page at a distance of 25 centimeter. So you have to give this paper to the patient so that they can ask the patient to read it out at a distance of 25 centimeter. So they have to read from the top to bottom. Here is the bottom letters will be so big. And if they are able to read from this line from number 7 means they are having normal vision. But number 11 easily they can be able to read it out. But to check whether they are having any difficulty in reading the page. So just check it out. With the help of this, we can be able to check the visual acuity. So visual acuity means the object supposed to be perceived as such by the eye without making any abnormality. That is called as what? Visual acuity. To confirm that, you can use either Snellen chart or Jacobs chart to confirm the issue. Then we'll switch over to the factors affecting visual acuity. So here the optical factor, you can categorize the factors under three major headings. One is optical factor, retinal factor, and stimulus factor. The optical factor will be the first one here, state of image forming mechanism of the eye. The optical factors here is the actual image forming mechanism will happen. Anything goes wrong in this area, patient won't be able to recognize the image properly. Then retinal factor, here the fovea has a better acuity. retina of the, in case of any abnormality in the retina or any thickening, all those things, they won't be able to visualize the image properly. Then the stimulus factors. Sometimes if the object is so small or the color is so transparent or very bright colors, all those things, sometimes it may create some difficulty in perceiving the object. So like we'll see the stimulus factors one by one. Size of the object, color of the object, the illumination power or the light or the contrast, brightness, duration of exposure. So these are all the factors. Even if sometimes because of the stimulus factor, patient won't be able to visualize the things properly. So see to it when you're checking a visual acuity, check whether patient is having any stimulus factor or any physiological factor. Physiological factor includes optical factor and retinal factor. Then depending upon the factors only we can be able to check out whether patient is having a normal field of vision. Field of vision means all the surroundings visible when the vision is fixed. So it's in the border or the image border supposed to be perceived properly. So all the surroundings is supposed to be visible when the vision is fixed. This is called as field of vision. So when you are checking the visual acuity, check out whether patient is having a normal vision, the field of vision. Is there any issues in perceiving the visions like any stimulus factors and all? Check out all this because without knowing all these things, simply we won't be able to predict patient is having any refractive error. So we have to consider all these factors. Then only we can be able to predict patient is having a refractive error of what. So this is the normal refractive condition. And for the ocular refractive system, it composed of cornea, the aqueous humor, the lens, and the vitreous fluid. So these are all the important parts of the eye which helps us to have a normal vision. It includes the cornea, lens, aqueous humor, and the vitreous fluid. These are all the things we're supposed to consider. So in case of any issues in the cornea or in the aqueous humor or in the lens or in the vitreous fluid, naturally patient is not going to have a normal vision. So before proceeding with the abnormality, we must know the normal anatomy. So these are the basic structures we're supposed to keep in our mind. People can see object clearly for the light rays sent out by the object pass through eye refractive system form images on the retinal macula. So here people can see the object clearly for the light rays. Here from here it will go, it will pass through the retina and lenses, and it will be read in the retinal macula. So this is the normal physiology of vision. So refractive condition is decided by the refractive power and the length of the ocular axis. So refractive power is very important. See, here is the image, it is coming. Here the refraction is going on and it's supposed to be perceived. So everything is supposed to happen properly. If anything goes wrong, they won't be able to visualize the things properly. So for a normal refraction or normal perception, we need to have a proper refractive power as well as the length of the ocular axis. The length is very, very important. If the ocular axis is beyond the retina or it stops here itself, again, they are not going to have the normal refraction. So it depends upon the refractive power as well as the refractive axis, the length of the ocular axis. So both the things we have to consider. So why I'm telling all these things means it's based upon this refractive power and the length of the ocular axis only, we can be able to diagnose what type of refractive error the patient is having. So basic things we're supposed to keep in our mind before diagnosing the actual problem. Reduced eye or schematic eye is the commonest thing. So all the refractive surfaces of eye are algebraically added and considered as a single lens. It has a central point of 17 mm in front of the retina. Refractive power is plus 59 diopter. That too, 2/3 of this diopter was provided by the cornea and 1/3 by lens. So basically, we'll call the refractive power is a term of diopter. So plus 58. Actually, minimum will be 58. So at least now for normal diopter, we have to 1 plus. That is from 59 diopter is supposed to be. This is the normal thing. If anything goes wrong in this, patient is not going to have a normal refraction. So this will be provided, 2/3 will be provided by the cornea and 1/3 by the lens. Now we'll see the diopter or the refractive power. What do you mean by that? So refractive power is the otherwise called as the diopter. Is the focal length of a spherical lens is 1 meter. Its refractive power is 1 diopter. The corneal refractive system, the normal thing is 43 for the corneal, that is 2/3 will be covered by corneal refraction, 1/3 is covered by the lens refraction. Normal range is 58.64 diopter. So from the corneal, the refraction will be 43.05 diopter and lens refraction is 19.11 diopter. So totally it will come around 58.64 diopter. So this is the normal ratio of refractive power. So now we'll see the emetropia means nothing but it's a normal vision without having any refractive error is called as emetropia. So the condition is the absence of refractive error or non-accommodated parallel light rays refracted by ocular refractive system accurately focuses on the retina, which is called as emetropia. This normal short vision is called as what? Emetropia. This is not without having any refractive error is the called as, otherwise medically we'll call it as emetropia. Then next one is ametropia or non-emetropia. So ametropia means ametropia or non-emetropia. So ametropia means the refractive power and the length of the globe are not correlated, so that parallel light rays refracted by ocular refractive system do not come to focus on the retina. It will end up into hypermetropia, myopia, astigmatism. So emetropia means normal vision without having any refractive error. Ametropia means or non-emetropia. The emetropia normal, non means just opposite to that. So non-emetropia means here the refractive error is called as non-emetropia. It majorly includes hypermetropia, myopia, and astigmatism. So commonest errors of refraction includes myopia, hypermetropia, and emetropia. Emetropia is the normal vision. Short normal vision is called as emetropia. Commonest error is myopia and hypermetropia. Myopia is otherwise called as nearsightedness. To have a correction over this myopia, we have to use a concave lens. For hypermetropia, is otherwise called as farsightedness. To have the normal accommodation of the lenses, we have to correct it with a convex lens. So here itself, this is the normal emetropia, normal eye. So here the axial length is normal. The image is perceived here by the lens and cornea and reaches the retina properly. So that visually patient be able to visualize objects properly. In case of hyperopia, it was extended so that the image is not going to be received properly. In myopia, here itself is stopped. So patient is not going to visualize the things properly. So when you are using a concave and convex lenses, we can be able to correct. For hyperopia, see this lens, when the image was visualized with the help of this lens, see it will reach to the proper position to the retina. Here also, it will be corrected. So it was stopped here itself. Now by using the lens, we can be able to have the normal vision. So this way we can be able to manage the refractive errors. Well, first we will see in detail about the myopia, or otherwise this is called as nearsightedness. Under non-accommodated condition, parallel light rays refracted by ocular refractive system come to focus in front of the retina. So this is called as myopia. So it will be accommodated before itself. It won't reach the retina properly. The image, it will stop before itself. This is called as myopia or nearsightedness. We can have the classification. We'll discuss the classification. If the patient is having a mild myopia, it will form below 3 diopter. Moderate means between 3 to 6 diopter. High myopia means more than 6 diopter. So based upon the refractive power, we can categorize myopia under 3 major heading: mild, moderate, and high myopia. So this actually, the eyeball will be too long. Here the eyeball will be too long. So what happens? The distant object focused will be in front of the retina itself. Because of this too long lenses, the image will be focused. The image will be focused here itself so that the patient will be able to visualize it properly. So image striking retina, by the time when it reaches the retina, it becomes so blurred. They won't be able to visualize it properly. So myopia means otherwise called as nearsightedness. Here the eyeball will be too long. So distant object focused will be in front of the retina itself. So the image will become so blurred, they won't be able to visualize the things properly. So for the correction, we have to use a concave lens. So when you're using a concave lens, here it will be corrected. So it was before it was stopped here itself. Now, when you are using a concave lens, it will reach the object's image will be reached to the retina with a normal picture. So you have to use a concave lens to treat myopia, or in severe cases, in high myopia like and all, we have to treat the patient with laser surgery. So laser surgery to slightly flatten the cornea. So we have to flatten the cornea. For that, we can go ahead with the laser surgery so that we can be able to treat the patient with myopia. This was the thing. So it was stopped here itself. See, the line is the uh, uh, thing before treatment or without glass spectacle. The image was perceived like this. And when the patient is using the spectacle, it will be reached to the retina properly. This way, you can be able to treat the patient. Nearsightedness or myopia occurs when light entering the eye focuses in front of the retina instead of directly on it. So this is caused by the corneal disturbances. That is, it will be very steeper, or an eye that is longer than a normal eye. So nearsighted people typically see well up close, but have difficulty in seeing far away things. So near things they won't be able to. Typically, they will see very near things, they'll be able to see properly, but they'll be finding it difficulty when the object is kept very far. So that is why this is called as nearsighted. This problem is often discovered in school-age children who report having troubles in seeing a chalkboard or whiteboard. So they won't be able to visualize the things if it is kept very far away. So very close things only they can be able to visualize. How we are going to detect whether patient is having nearsightedness or myopia. For this, we have to use a vision test or any refractive assessment test. So based upon the vision and refraction test, we can be able to come to a proper diagnosis, what type of refractive error patient is having. And we'll see the commonest etiology for myopia. There are two causes. First one is axial myopia. For this axial myopia, axial of the eye is quite long, but the refractive power will be normal. The axial of the eye will be long, but normal refraction will be there. But since they are having a long axial of the eye, they won't be able to visualize properly. So the eye longer than the average. The eye is longer than the normal average people. Most high myopia axial, mostly people, those who are having myopia, they'll be having this particular axial myopia type only. Second one is refractive myopia. The axis is normal, but the refractive power will be increased here. In the previous case, axial is long, but refraction power is normal. But in the refractive myopia, the axis is normal, but the refractive power will increase. So because of this, patient may have myopia. This way we can be able to correct the issue. Then next type is hypermetropia. So hypermetropia is the state in which the unaccommodated eye would focus the image behind the retina, just opposite to myopia. So parallel light rays refracted by ocular refractive system focus behind the retina, not form clear image. So it will be focused behind the retina. So because of that, they won't be able to see the things properly, just opposite to myopia. Uh, Eyeball, here the eyeball will be too short, but in case of myopia, eyeball was bigger, very longer. Here eyeball will be too shorter, so lens will be looking so thin and so stiff also. Nearby objects are focused behind the retina. Image striking the fovea is blurred. So this here, to correct the thing, we have to use a convex lens like this. So it was stopped, it was going behind the retina. Now with the help of the convex lens, now the image was focused properly over the retina. Farsightedness or hyperopia occurs when light entering the eye focuses behind the retina instead of directly on it. This is caused by the cornea, that it is flatter, or an eye that is shorter than a normal eye. Far-sighted people usually having trouble seeing up close, but may also have difficulty seeing far away as well. Young people with a mild to moderate hyperopia are often able to see clearly because their natural lens can adjust automatically or accommodate automatically to increase the eye's focusing ability. So young people can adjust, but older people, they'll be having difficulty with hypermetropia. However, as the eye gradually loses the ability to accommodate, this issue, it will begin by the age of 40. So it will begin beginning at about 40 years of age. Blurred vision from hyperopia often becomes more apparent. So till 40, they can be able to manage. After that, gradually they'll be having problems of accommodating. Now we'll see the basic signs and symptoms of hypermetropia. They'll be having difficulty in seeing up close. Blurred distance vision occurs with higher amounts of hyperopia. Eye fatigue, especially when they're reading, they'll be having severe eye fatigue. Often they'll be rubbing the eyes. They won't be able to visualize the thing. They won't be able to read it properly. Even they'll feel very tired when they are reading. And then eye strain. Because of eye strain, it may land up into headache, pulling sensation and burning sensation or watering from eye. So these are all the commonest signs and symptoms of hypermetropia. Again, like myopia, here also you can categorize hypermetropia like mild, moderate, and high. Mild means less than 3 diopter. Moderate means 5 or less than 5 diopter. High means more than 5 diopter. So this way, based upon the refraction, you can categorize hypermetropia like mild, moderate, and high. Here the etiology, common etiology for hypermetropia is axial hyperopia or refractive hyperopia. In axial hyperopia is indicated that ocular axis is short, but refractive power is normal. But in refractive hyperopia is indicated that ocular axis is normal, but refractive power is weak, just opposite to each other. In case of axial hyperopia, ocular axis is shorter, but refractive power is normal. But since the refraction is normal, but ocular axis is too short, that's why the patient won't be able to visualize or perceive the things properly. In case of refractive hyperopia, here the axis is normal, but refractive power is very weak. So because of this also, patient won't be able to perceive the things properly. So these are the two important causative factors for hypermetropia. Next, we will see the clinical findings. So clinical findings of or clinical manifestations of hypermetropia. Visual acuity with mild hyperopia may be compensated by accommodation. So far, our near vision may be normal in mild hyperopia of juvenile, especially among small children. If the degree of hyperopia or hypermetropia is large or accommodative power decreases with aging, both far and near vision decrease in different degrees. And near vision is much worse than far one. So near vision, they'll be having, as age increases, people will find it difficulty to visualize the things which is very closer to them than compared to the far one. Then another important clinical findings with hyperopia is asthenophobia. That means long-term near work excessive accommodation often may induce asthenophobia. Long-term near work excessive accommodation, there will be excessive accommodation, excessive focusing or axial will be there, because that will land up into asthenophobia. Its symptoms is usually they'll be having complaining blurred vision, distending pain in superciliary arch. Then another important clinical finding is estropia due to excessive accommodation leading to more convergence, which is easy to induce estropia. Here also excessive accommodation will be there. Then another important refractive error is squint eye. A squint may show that the acuity of the eye is impaired because of ocular disease. The eye are kept straight by the drive to keep the image of the object being viewed in the center of the macular area where highest definition and color vision is located. The tone in the extraocular muscle is constantly being readjusted to maintain this fixation. If the vision is impaired in one or both eyes, constant readjustment cannot occur and one eye may be wander. Here, this is the typical picture of a true definition for a squint eye. Here you can be able to see both eyes is coming, but it's not meeting at the same point. So because of that, one eye not directed towards the object. Here, object is here. So this one supposed to meet here only. This is object, but see this image is going beyond the picture, beyond the image, so that they won't with one from one eye they'll be having normal vision, from the other eye they're not going to have the normal vision. See here it reaches the image properly, but here it's crossing the image. This is called a squint eye. A squint may itself cause amblyphobia in child. That is the misalignment of the eye may be the primary problem with resulting double vision. So since it's not reaching to the proper, so, it's not reaching the same point. So because of that, even they may have some double vision problem. But since they're small, the small children, they won't be able to make out. Actually, they are having a squint or what. As they grow, only they can be able to make out. But in a young child, the vision of one eye may be suppressed to avoid this diplopia, and the visual pathway then fail to develop properly. This leads to amblyphobia of the eye that is otherwise originally seen. Here, see this image here. When it is not looking at the image properly, means one eye they'll be having the image like this, other eye they'll be having the normal vision. So as they're small, they won't be able to make out properly, but they, when they are straining with the same condition without making any treatment, without doing anything, and later stage they may develop some complication. Unlike the vision of an adult, a child's vision may be irreversibly impaired if treatment is not given in a proper time. So the visual pathway in the brain that receives information from an abnormal eye fails to develop normally. The resulting depressed cortical function leads to amblyphobia, commonly called a lazy eye. The child does not usually complain that the sight of one eye is poor. A pair of glasses to correct a refractive error may prevent a permanent impairment in acuity of the vision. So this way we can be able to treat hyperopia. See, when you're providing a lens like this, we can bring back the original image picture to the proper position in the retina. Another important refractive error is presbyopia. With age, lens becomes less elastic. As age increases, it will become less elastic. Then accommodation power also will started coming down. It becomes two diopter at the age of 50. When they are reaching 70, it becomes 0. So at the age of 50, it will reach 2. And when they reach 70, it will become 0. So as the age increases, accommodation power will come down because of age. The reason behind that is losing the elasticity of the lens. So person in such type of situation, people we need to provide a bifocal lenses. We have to manage both. For focal point, we have to have a bifocal lenses. A presbyopia actually will define, this is otherwise called the short arm syndrome. Is a term used to describe an eye in which the natural lens can no longer accommodate. With aging, accommodative function decreases gradually. At about 40 to 45 years of age, difficulty takes place in near work or reading. This decrease of physiological accommodation caused by aging is known as presbyopia. Here, problem will be there in the accommodation that physiological because of physiological changes due to aging process. So this is called as presbyopia. For such people, we have to provide a bifocal lens or bifocal spectacles. The clinical findings of presbyopia includes most people first notice difficulty in reading very fine printed books like phone books, medicine bottle, or small things. They won't be able to read it properly. And print seems to have less contrast, and the eyes become easily fatigued when reading a book or computer screen. So contrast things they won't be able to look out properly. Less contrast means it's okay for them. And when they are looking at the computer monitor and all, no, they'll feel so fatigue in the eye. The symptoms of presbyopia is difficult to see near things. Though commonly they'll be having problem of difficulty in seeing the closer things. Signs and symptoms of presbyopia includes difficulty in seeing clearly for close work. Print seems to have a less contrast. Contrasting, they won't be able to read it properly. Brighter, more direct light required for reading. They need in the very brighter light or direct light only they can be able to read it. Otherwise, they will find it difficult to read out. Then reading material must be held further away to see, but not in all cases. In some cases, they'll be having this problem. Then fatigue and eye strain when reading. Always they'll be complaining fatigue and eye strain especially while reading. As age increases, the accommodation will come down. Here at the age of 12, it's here, but when they reach to 70, So here at the 10, it is here at the level of normal level is 12. But as the age increases, here what will happen? It will come down. So because of this, presbyopia will occur. Next we'll switch over to the next refractive error called astigmatism. Astigmatism means that the cornea is oval instead of spherical like basketball. Actually, the cornea is oval instead of a spherical like structure. So because of this anatomical variation, patient may develop some refractive issue that is called as astigmatism. In most astigmatism, corneas have two curves, a steeper curve and a flatter curve. This causes light to focus on more than one point in the eye, resulting in blurred vision at distance or near vision. So astigmatism often occurs along with nearsightedness or farsightedness. In both cases, we can be able to see this astigmatism. The etiology or the causative factor for astigmatism is the most common cause is that the radii of curvature of cornea and the lens are different in each meridian. Generally, the difference between the two main meridian is so big or so long that is why patient may develop astigmatism. Here the astigmatism is stigma point different curvature in different planes of the corneal lens. So different curvature from different areas in the corneal lens. So multiple curvatures you can be able to see it here, so that a clear picture won't be able to perceived at the retina. This is the main cause for astigmatism. If we can have the classification of astigmatism under two major headings, one is curvature astigmatism, another one is index astigmatism. In curvature astigmatism, the problem will be in the cornea, but in index astigmatism, the problem will be in the lens. That is, the lens will be malpositioned. As the age increases, the patient may develop this lens malposition. Because of that, they may develop index astigmatism. So irregular curvature in parts of the cornea or lens causes blurry image. So irregular curvature will be there. So the normal picture won't reach to the retina. So because of that, they won't be able to perceive the objects properly. This may be corrected by specially ground lenses, which compensate for the irregularity, or if needed, even we can go ahead with the laser surgery to correct the curvature. Special treatment for astigmatism includes spherical correction is done first for one of the two planes of astigmatism. Then additional cylindrical correction is done in the perpendicular plane. This way we can be able to do the correction so that the patient will get relief from astigmatism. The treatment includes astigmatism can be corrected with glasses, cylindrical lenses or contact lenses, or surgically also. The most common surgery used to correct astigmatism are astigmatic keratotomy. The procedure that involves placing a microscopic incision on the eye and applying lasers. The objective of this procedure is to reshape the cornea so it becomes more spherical or uniformly curved. Because of the abnormal curvature only, patient is having problem in case of astigmatism. To have the normal curvature, we need to do surgical repair so that normal spherical or uniformly curved structure can be obtained. Optical aberration is the another important refractive issue. We can have two types of optical aberration: spherical aberration and chromatic aberration. Spherical aberration means iris function is to reduce this by covering periphery of the lenses. Then chromatic aberration means red color is refracted least and violet is refracted more. So this is another important refractive error that is called optical aberration. Here we can be able to see how the variations is there. So purple spot of light in the distance one, red light is on the distance. So how it reaches? Here in the previously I told it was told as spherical. Red color will be refracted least compared to violet. So violet is refracted most. So here a purple spot of the light in the distance. So red light in the distance. See the difference. See, red is not reaching properly. It is going beyond, but purple is stopping here itself. So both is will create a problem. Here we have to assess the focal length of red light and focal length of the blue light. So focal length of the red light, no, it reaching beyond the retina. So we should, naturally they'll be having a blurred vision. So depending upon the focal length, they'll be having problem. So because of that, for the normal people, it will looking like this. If the focal length is too high, they know they won't, it will stop like this. If it is too short, they'll be having a blurred vision. So this need to be corrected. And when they are using contact lenses to have the correction upon this refractive error, they can use the contact lens. If the broader field or clear vision is possible in case of contact lens, no considerable reduction in object size. They will be perceiving the things as such without having any alteration or any making any correction. So broader field or clear vision is possible when they're using the contact lens. So they can use the contact lens to have the correction upon this particular issue. Next, we switch over to the another issue that is called as cataract. Because of cataract, also patient won't be able to perceive the things properly. Actually, this is a cloudiness of lenses called as cataract. So denaturalization and coagulation of lens will the protein which is there in the lens, it will become coagulated. It will become so turbid so that we won't be able to visualize the objects properly. So commonest cause of reversible blindness. Then treatment is extraction and replacement with artificial intraocular lens. So in case of cataract, cloudiness of lens will occur because of the denaturalization and coagulation of the lens protein. It will become so turbid so that we won't be able to visualize the objects properly. Clouding of lens due to aging, the commonest cause for cataract or the cloudiness is the aging process or diabetes mellitus, heavy smoking, frequent exposure to intense sunlight, or congenital factor is also there. Treatment of choices only lens implant only. Intraocular lens can be implanted. The diseased lens can be sucked out and the intraocular lens will be implanted. Till now we have discussed about different types of refractive errors, and to have the normal acuity, what we supposed to do is sharpness of vision. To bring back the sharpness of vision, we have to use a properly designed spectacle so that we can be able to correct the refractive problems. In case of myopia, or otherwise called as nearsightedness, image is focused in front of the retina because eyeball is too long. For such issue, to have the normal vision, this is the emetropia, that means normal sharp vision, no need to have any correction. But in case of myopia, nearsightedness, here what happens? Image is focused in front of the retina because of eyeball is too long. So here, this is the myopia. It actually, image is focused in front of the retina itself. We supposed to reach here, but here is a little stop. So because of the eyeball is too long. So what we have to do is we have to use a concave lens. So when you're using a concave lens, it will be perceived properly. But in case of hyperopia or hypermetropia, just opposite to that, here what happens? This is otherwise called as farsightedness. Image is focused behind the retina because eyeball is too short. Here the eyeball is too short compared to here, eyeball is too short. So what happens here? The image will go behind the retina. So because of that, patient won't be able to visualize the things properly. They'll be having a blurred vision. To have a correction over there, we have to use a convex lens. So when you're using a convex lens, we can have the normal visual acuity. The third important issue is astigmatism. To have a corrections, we have to use a here they'll be having astigmatism. They'll be having corneal lens is not symmetrical, so light is bent unevenly. So here they'll be having a uneven bend will be there. So uneven lens correction is very important in case of astigmatism. So here the unequally it is going. So to avoid this, we have to have an uneven lens correction. When we are doing this procedure, we will be having a normal vision. So this way we can be able to treat the patient who is having refractive error. As a nurses, what is our main role to play over here is, so whenever patient is having complaint of visual acuity, first of all, we have to consider the age factor and the related comorbidity like diabetes mellitus, all those things. And we must collect complete occupation history, whether they're exposed to high light, all those things we must consider. Then after that, we have to invest in a proper visual assessment by using the scales which we have discussed earlier. So still, if you know the exact problem medically, if possible, we can treat with the spectacles or we can provide some medications. Otherwise, if needed, we can, when the patient is coming for surgery, preparation is very essential. Then after surgery, proper health education is very important for the patient. So how to take care of the eye, and they must come for regular follow-up. All those instructions we have to give to the patient. To have the corrections for the refractive errors using spectacles. So appropriate spectacles and needle surgery can be performed to alleviate the